Hello, my name is Hunter, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So this here is my new to me 2009 Kawasaki KLR650. Bought it from a gentleman up in Vancouver earlier this week, and I'm excited to see where this goes. A little bit of background on me: mostly ridden street bikes. Did a little bit of off-roading as a kid, and just looking for something a little bit different. Can see that it's not entirely stock. Previous owner did some modifications, used it as a commuter, but I'm just looking to make this my own. Here, cover's peeling a little bit. Actually, it was about there when I bought it. Had a 2 or 3 hour ride home and split some more as I was riding. Previous owner was kind enough to provide me with a Moose Racing seat cover to replace it. Just something he hadn't got around to prior to me picking it up from him. So we're going to see how it goes. The sport bikes I've ridden in the past had some kind of release under here to be able to just pop the seat off. Looks like this guy might need a little bit of disassembly to do that. Let's see how it goes. Alrighty, so for starters, we're going to need to take these two bolts here off. There's going to be 8mm bolts there. Not too difficult. Hard to tell if this thing's been off before or not. I already got the other side off. They were a little tight, quite a little bit of torque in there, but not too terribly much. Alright, let's put that guy off. Already pulled the bolts out of there. It should just pop right off like that. After that, we've got a 10mm bolt there, the washer behind it. That one's going to take a little more force to get off than that first one. But let's take you back here. Drop that washer. Get that off there. This guy should just come right up. Nice and easy, not too bad. Alright, so moving forward, I gotta get the old seat cover off first. I could just rip the top off here where the giant gash is, but I'd recommend by starting with pulling off some staples here. Get you in a little bit closer. Staples that line this whole guy along the bottom there. From what I hear, using 1/4 inch, maybe up to 3/8 staple. To replace them should be okay, but get it off to start, we're going to use just a regular old flathead screwdriver and some needle nose pliers. See how it goes. Alright, so the screwdriver and staple method seems to be working pretty good as I drop it. See if I can get you some better light here. Pretty simple, just taking the flathead there and digging under those staples and popping them out. Don't necessarily need to pop them out all the way with the screwdriver, just enough to be able to get your needle nose pliers in there. Do that this whole way around. Maybe. It's being a little difficult. Just like that. Some of them can be a little more difficult in the tighter corners there, but you get the general idea there. So with that said, there definitely is some moisture in there. As I was peeling it off through the cracks, I could feel the water saturating onto my legs. You can definitely see, especially here on the that left side, it's looking pretty gnarly. So before I throw this new cover on, I am going to let it dry out. I'll set it out in the sun here. Some of you have. Living here in Oregon, it is beautiful. In the Willamette Valley, you see a lot of clouds. Not quite as much rain as you get over on the coast, but so I'm going to see how that does, how much of that moisture we can get out of here. I'm hoping a pretty decent amount. Alright, so I figured before I let this guy dry out, I am seeing some pretty pretty nasty surface mold on there. I'm going to try and scrub out if I can. I can already see some of the moisture kind of pulling up on the ground here, but not totally exactly what you need, I don't think. Got some just Clorox, cleaner and bleach for killing bacteria and viruses. Don't know what it'll do for the mold, but I figure it's worth a shot. Alrighty, so got it scrubbed up pretty good. A lot of that surface mold's off there, but not all of it. I'm going to give it a good spray with some compressed air to hopefully get some moisture out and hang it up to dry. So on the topic of compressed air, let's talk about tire pressure. I'll give you a little background. Prior to what I'm doing now, I did spend about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, working at a local tire chain here in the Northwest called Les Schwab. And in there, tire pressure is important, obviously. You know, modern cars, you got warning lights in them and whatnot, readouts to tell you what they are, to tell you what the optimal pressure is for your car. And with the bikes, they typically have them as well. Owning street bikes in the past, there's normally a label on the frame or on the swing arm telling you what kind of pressure to run. I'm not seeing one, so I haven't looked too hard here on this guy, the KLR650. But then getting online, it kind of varies depending on what you're doing. If you're doing mostly off-road stuff and you're wanting some better traction off-road, you're going to want less tire pressure, kind of flatten out the tire and help it kind of mold around things as opposed to ride on top of them. But if you're riding on the street, you want the higher tire pressure. It's going to give you better life out of the tire and some better handling as well. On here, what I've got came with, looks like some Kenda, what's this guy? I don't see a model. I'm just seeing Kenda on there. But pretty aggressive off-road tire. You know, still street legal. Got that DOT rating on there. It is a 6-ply tire, so a little bit heavier duty tire. Up on the front is where the effects of having your tire pressure too low is kind of showing. As you can see, there's supposed to be a tread block here, but there's not. Looks like kind of every other one. I'd imagine this guy here is a little bit taller, more pronounced from the factory. This one here is going to be some Pirelli Scorpion MXs. Does this have the DOT on there? DOT being the Department of Transportation. Number, which I do not see. MC15M MST. Yeah, so I'm thinking that this guy here is a strictly dirt bike tire, which would make sense as to why. Seeing the wear that we're seeing on there. So I'm going to go ahead and air them up. It looks like the manufacturer recommends like 21 in the front and you know, about 25 in the rear. A bit of a compromise between the lower tire pressures that you might want to run off-road versus the higher ones that you might want to run on-road. If I'm being honest, I'm mostly an on-road guy, but it's the first time I've had some dual sport off-road worthy vehicle since I was a kid. So I'm going to go ahead and set them to what the manufacturer recommends and see what happens. And in the meantime, I am looking at getting some new tires here for the front and rear. Of course, I didn't see this till I was about 100 miles home, or 20 miles or so from home, but yeah, and that concerned me pretty good. Explains a lot of the vibrations I was feeling though, so let's go ahead and get that done. Alright, so next job is going to be tackling the chain. As you can see here, you got quite a lot of adjustment there. When I bought it, this thing was damn near bunched up, sagging on the ground. So thought I adjusted it pretty good before I took off. The gentleman was kind enough to let me borrow some tools and get out on the road. Also made him aware because he just didn't know any better. But that's a little more plate than I'd like in there, so let's go ahead and get cracking on that. I'm going to need a couple of sockets here. The 19 for the left side, 21 to take off the castle nut on the right side, and a pair of needle nose pliers as well. So to get this castle nut off here, got a cotter pin. Just need to get that in line and pull it out. And these KLRs are pretty neat. Got axle stands with them. Makes it pretty handy. If you don't have a center stand, if you can pick up rear wheel stand, that helps a lot. Being able to get that rear wheel up off the ground. Alrighty, so we got that cotter pin loose. The castle nut here backed up onto it, made it difficult to be able to get in. Sort of pinched it right there. But let's go ahead and get that yanked out. And break it off in the process. I'll see about getting a new one of those now. Alrighty, so I was pretty far off. Not a 21 millimeter. I do not have a metric socket big enough for that, but a 1 1/16 socket does seem to be big enough for it. Is a hair on the loose side, so I'm going to need to get something a little bit closer and more accurate for when it comes to torquing that wheel on there. But from there, let's show you what we're doing. So we loosen up the axle nut on right side as well as this left side here. Next, what we're going to want to do is undo this locking nut, be able to allow some adjustment here of this rear axle. And then we're going to want to make sure that we're lined up on both sides. So let's go ahead and get that done. Alrighty, so as we can see, if we move this a bit, the locking nut comes loose pretty nicely. And looking here, I got that way too tight. So whenever you're adjusting this, you want about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of play of this chain up and down. Right there we got nothing. Having that too tight is almost just as bad as having it too loose. With that too tight, you're going to wear out your chain and sprockets prematurely, and it does not give you a longer period of time between needing to adjust your chain. About every 500 miles is what's recommended, so don't let anybody go thinking that's going to do it for you. Alright, so we got this chain back into a place where I feel comfortable with it. They do make tools for measuring that properly. I don't have one, but like I said, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of play is what you're going to want in there. Once you got it good, you're going to want to lock these nuts here for your axle adjusters and make sure that these lines are lined up. So you want to make sure that this rear wheel is kept in alignment. Otherwise, it's going to get some cupping and wavy feeling as you're driving down the road, and it's just not going to feel right. It's not safe. So let's make sure that these are both lined up. You can see there, it's like just before that first line there, the end of the adjuster. And coming over here, got the same thing just before that first line. So now what you can do from here to check the alignment visually as opposed to just relying on those adjusters is get behind the tire. You want to sit directly behind your bike. Line yourself up with the bike itself, not that rear wheel. And as you can see, it looks like it's just a hair too far to this left side, so let's get that fixed. Alrighty, so I got that rear wheel into alignment. I'll show you there. This tire's pretty nice with it having that nice center tread going down there. As a frame of reference to show you that these are just reference points, not tried and true marks. That one's still in its original position. I got that locking nut tightened so it doesn't move. It took some adjustment on this right hand side. You can tell it's not quite as far out as it is on that left side. The paperwork I have says that the previous owner replaced the chain and sprockets back in August of 2017. It's now April 2018. I don't know how many miles he had on there, but they appear to look in good condition. Definitely use some lubing and cleaner to that chain. There's some rust on it from it sitting, but other than that, I think we're okay. Let's go ahead and get this rear wheel tightened up. Alrighty, so got the Moose Racing seat cover out of there. It's a standard old seat cover. It's like some marine grade vinyl. I'm gonna go ahead and slap it on there. It is the proper one for this seat. Comes with a nice little fit there, and you know, seems to be pretty sturdy compared to the old one. Got a nice little Moose Racing logo on there, make you feel nice and special, and let people know that you're not running the stalker. But I'm assuming the process is going to be exactly the same as it was taking it off. Just put some new staples in there. Like I said, I'm going to be using the 1/4 inch staples there. You know, nothing too special with the staple gun. Let's get started. All right, so sit rep. I got it on. Doesn't look great. You guys look here. Still got a lot of excess material here. and you know, just not as tight as I might like it. Granted, I've never done this before at all, so better than it could have been, but not as good as it could be. Obviously, maybe a little more experience. Happens again. I'll know better for next time. Now, with that said, the intent was never to leave it like that. The fact that the guy I purchased it from threw in that seat cover was just an added bonus. Honestly, I'm considering getting one of those aftermarket seats. If I could get some opinions from somebody who knows, you know, has them themselves, that'd be great. So, took a page right out of Mr. Everride himself. Took myself down to Walmart, got myself one of these ATV seat covers. It's about 20 bucks, I believe, and I'm going to throw it on and see how it fits. Alrighty, so got it on there. Took a little finagling, but it does the trick. Chair's all covered up. Seat's going to be nice and waterproof from the top on the foam there. Going to go ahead and just slap the plastics back on and call it a day. Tomorrow we're got a couple other projects we're going to tackle and tag you along then. See you next time.